Hey, what's up, everybody? Alright, so in this video, I'm going to show off the new map actually running in Revulsion, and it's definitely in an early state. But you should be able to see and kind of get an idea of what is coming down the line with an actual, with the first, the first half of the first section of the very first areas of the new Death Spiral expansion pack for free. It's a free Death Spiral expansion pack. So let me show you what's going to happen after I upload this version of the level editor. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up to here and we're going to go like this. So you'll see custom. Boom. It'll be new work in progress version 0.25 because that's about where I would put the completion of the map overall. It's pretty early still. A lot of stuff is still coming online. There's a lot of things that need to happen. A lot of stuff that, since I'm playing with a level 25 character, I need to level sync so that the level is level 25. The natural level of this expansion ranges between level 1 and 8. So if you don't level sync, then yeah, it just won't work correctly. Now, the difficulty thing isn't quite working correctly. I thought it would be, but one of the variables is not being saved properly for some strange reason. But I guess that's just going to be the growing pains of this. I also apologize since Revulsion itself is a completed game. All of the other stuff is over here, and it's all in its, pretty much finished state. The custom map stuff is very much a work in progress right now. Getting this stuff rolled in, getting all of the, the new textures, the new everything, like this is very much in an early stage right now because this is the foundation of the next game, but it's being developed within Revulsion. So it's kind of an interesting situation. Anyway, so we go travel. Now, there's two guys down there. Now, the bullets don't go through that. I think that's going to end up being like glass. Now, one of the main things that I've noticed is that a lot of the enemies are able to see you or hear you a lot earlier than I was expecting. And I actually ended up having to tweak things a lot once I first began messing around with this, because a lot of the monsters that I thought were going to be all, hiding or in ambush state immediately just started basically coming through the door. So I had to rework a lot of the monster spawns and stuff like that. So here you'll see that this is a red door. This is a red door. You can't open it without the red key. And up there is the red key, right? So, yep, you go out through here. He acted in kind of a weird way. He was just like standing there or something. One thing I am noticing is that with the level editor, there's a tendency to make fairly tight spaces. It's not so bad, but you could definitely tell that like later on down the line, we're gonna want to have more open spaces for more intense combat. That's for sure. So here's a loot. Got a berserker gem. So let's see. Alright, so far so good. Now this should be water. Alright, now that I have the red key, you'll notice if I move my... damn it. If I can select my head. Come on. Give me my damn head. Why isn't it giving me my head? Oh, there it is. So if I move my head over here, you'll be able to see there's a red key. There's a red key sitting, the red key icon indicating that I have the red key card, or the red key. So I can now open these. There's your barrel, Doge. If you ever watched this. Now, one of the main things that you'll notice, you probably already have, is that in Revulsion, this is a lot brighter by default. That's because the lighting is set up so that you have materials, right? Like, since all the walls are white, there's going to be a tendency to make the levels darker than they're supposed to be. When you actually have materials, you'll kind of notice it with this door. You see how dark the door looks compared to the surrounding environment? Stuff that actually has like actual textures or some kind of like color to the wall other than just bright white will have a tendency to make the level look brighter than it really is. Revulsion's lighting by default is already set up for this, but the level editor isn't. So we have like lighting that's going to end up changing dramatically once we begin adding actual materials and stuff. And none of it's any better than the stuff I've got. Look at all this crap. Sell it all. It's being my test character. So there'll be a slime. Yeah, I need to add static meshes for things, you know, for the fluid tops, like the. So the level essentially ends at this point, and this is the stuff that I'll probably be working on for tonight's stream and everything like that, right? Alright, so that covers just about, you know, the general gist of how this is going to feel to actually play, right? Not too bad. Seems to be okay. Like, there's a few things, like I'm not too happy with the fact that one of the demons, sniper state, was triggered. I guess you can get too close to him if you go over here, and that makes it so that he immediately runs all the way down. And because if you get near a creature that's in sniper state, he will start running around. He won't just stand there while you're, you know, pounding at him from like 2 feet away. They get spooked essentially. That's how their AI is set up. So with that said, there is something interesting to be brought up about all of this. Now, going over all of the functionality for the level editor, there's a new version of the level editor that's already up right now and everything like that, but I'm thinking about hierarchical instancing. So there's basically 2 features right now, maybe 3, that would place the level editor, this level editor, above 90% of the other level editors in existence. Hierarchical instancing, like, I guess it would be part of like you'd have to have like a marquee selection type thing, and then a basic undo feature where you can kind of roll back changes that you've made to the map. Maybe see like a short list of things that you've done and be able to roll those things back. depending on like if you deleted something or if you messed around. But there's also a lot of other stuff that's happened with the level editor as well. So the level editor has gotten a lot of changes. I'll go over what those changes are. You'll be seeing them in the update as well. So let's see. Let me grab up this text file. All right. So we've got the save game issue where work is being lost and stuff like that. I think I figured it out. I'm pretty sure. But if it's not figured out, whenever the game is saved, you'll be able to see a like an indicator, like anytime a save goes through. So like you'll notice down in the bottom right, there's the castle, saved, and then it's the name of the map. If that's the wrong name, whenever you see that go through, it does this for autosaves as well. So this should tell everybody, okay, yeah, all right, like the level's been saved and what the file name is. So even if I'm wrong and something else actually occurs, or something does actually break, we'll still be able to catch it before it becomes too much of a problem because we'll be looking at like what the hell is, what's the name of the level file that it's saving. So what else has changed? Name tags. These should now be working correctly on everybody right now. This is the build that's currently up right now. I'll make sure there's a download link in the update. Um, there's a lock option. So the lock option is like super important. So you'll notice that there's a little lock thingy here that just floats over the object that you're currently looking at, right? Now, this is really great for things like terrain. So you'll notice that when I look at this terrain, 02, it's locked. And what that means is it won't even highlight when you're actually selecting it. Like it doesn't bother to even tell you that it's selected. So now you can go ahead and you can work freely on top of a big terrain without fear of somebody accidentally rotating or deleting it or fucking it up. You can't modify an object that has this set, and this also works for everything. Like you can lock a trigger, you can lock anything. Basically, all you do is you just put that check mark on, and then you back out, and like it's still even though it doesn't highlight the object when you look at it, it still is there, but it doesn't highlight it in a way that is obstructive to view. It's not obtrusive to your vision, and you know what I mean. It's like it just sort of puts it in the background so you don't really have to focus on it anymore because it's a locked object. And that's basically what happens here. So one of the first things that we should do whenever placing like a big object like terrain or something like that is lock the thing so that nobody will accidentally mess it up or do something weird. You know what I mean? Now, the lighting in the new Revulsion is a lot higher quality. Not only not only is it darker and there's better like um, everything. That's just because of the way the new graphic pipeline is set up. I don't have to worry too much about performance as far as high poly counts with voxels and stuff like that, which means that we can get away with much higher fidelity in terms of the quality of lighting before it starts to affect performance. Um, yeah, the new Revulsion will be just a lot better visually in every way, shape, and form. But okay, so with that said, let me go ahead and get back to this. Okay, so Z, I still don't like this solution, but instead of lock for the Z lock, I just say unlock, and unlock is on by default. This was brought up by Sergeant Hawk. If an object he brought this up and it's a pretty good point. So let's see. If I have an object selected, or if I have like like a builder brush over here, and it's going with me right now, this is unlocked. But if I press Z, now it's locked. Do you see? The rotation is locked. The object can still move, but the rotation is locked to the world. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it so that it says locked down here, and I'm just going to reverse. If it's unlocked, then I'm just going to reverse it. It's still kind of unintuitive, but basically what it is I kind of get the terminology backwards. Like something that's locked to your viewpoint doesn't make as much sense as something that's locked to the world space. Okay, yeah. Hopefully that makes sense. I mean, if not, it doesn't really matter. It's not a very big deal. Counter and multi-manager. These objects no longer reversed in the details tab. More cleanup on trigger details tab. Scale options no longer appear for trigger counter and multi-manager. Yeah, this is just like basic cleanup stuff. Flight mode. When flying around, you fly in the direction you are actually looking. So, yeah, so like you see how like I fly up or I'm flying down. That's it. All I'm doing is just pressing forward. Before the way it was like you would only be able to like move on in certain directions. This is for spectate and edit mode. Combat mode is unaffected because well I guess until swimming becomes like a thing, like when you start swimming in like deep water or whatever. Um, so with that said, we get that. Tab key now activates mouse interact mode. Okay, so this is a little bit more in line with the way Revulsion currently works right now. The E key isn't being used anymore because the E key is going to be for like grabbing loot and flipping switches, right? That's going to be your like interact with the world, like make stuff happen key, which doesn't really exist yet. The tab key is going to be what you use for like accessing your inventory, which is pretty much what this is right now. So you press tab if you want to bring up your inventory for like what props you want to use, what in place like that, right? And the builder brush or the builder mesh appears when you right click now. So if you can get rid of it with a right instead of pressing tab. Now this is a little bit clunky right now because tab also has a tendency to cause objects to not just that, it's not objects it focuses certain things. It's hard to explain, but it's kind of clunky. I just need to make sure that literally nothing on the UI could ever be focusable because it's a trash feature I don't want anyway. Right click, yeah, right click to get out of build mode. Right clicking will now toggle your builder mode. Proper character mesh added. Oh yeah, you won't be able to see that though, but I actually have like the default character, the default Unreal 4 character standing in a T pose, rather than a tall cylinder or something like that. Next will be to give them animations or something like that, but really, honestly, the real next step will be just to have like unique characters built for these specific purposes. Um, while in combat and edit modes, you will see an actual character model. Spectate mode is still just going to be a little sphere. Make it so you can play this map in Revulsion. Yep, and I already did that. So with that said, that's everything right there. Now the hierarchical instancing thing. I should probably have gone into this more earlier because this is actually a pretty big deal. But one of the features that was asked for was the ability to make prefabs, right? Well, if I ever do a prefab system for this editor, the prefab system is going to be a hierarchical instancing system. In other words, kind of like Call of Duty level editor. In other words, this means that people will be able to build the map in separate files, and then I have like a little object that you can place that has a level that level attached to it, essentially. And that means that I mean, it's like the slickest thing possible, and something like in Call of Duty Radiant is like this whole section over here could be its own map file, and all of it's just attached to this one object that I placed like right here, right? And um, I don't even have to be in this world. I don't even have to be on this server to be working on this level at this point in time. Now, hierarchical instancing has its drawbacks because, for one, I mean, the fact that Revulsion's level editor is fully multiplayer kind of steps on the need for wanting to have like a form of hierarchical instancing. But hierarchical instancing is an amazingly good tool because it saves a lot of time and effort when it comes to like the little details. Like you can combine a few different objects into one little hierarchical instancing, and then you can just plop that object down, point it to that little tiny map file, like a mini map file, and it'll, you never really need to build that object ever again. Instancing is a fantastic way to build levels. Um, Now, I'm still thinking about how I want to do it. I mean, should the hierarchical instancing just be geometry based? Should it include like entities? Should it be, should you be able to build like with anything that you want, like any kinds of objects that you want? It may be limited to just level geometry. I don't know for sure like how I want to do it, but I mean, if it's limited to the level geometry, then it's not that hard for me to do because then it just, it's a single object with a bunch of components that are attached to it, right? It just grabs from that level file, and it's something that I already have set up. It's actually not even that crazy. But it becomes one of the most powerful tools in level design. Period. Hands down. Anyone who doesn't have hierarchical instancing is living in the fucking past. I don't give a shit what anybody is fucking saying. It is a core, fundamental, one of the best fucking things ever. Anyone who's used COD Radiant knows what the fuck I'm talking about. If you don't have it, your shit sucks, kinda. So, but that's actually, I don't actually think it's going to be that hard to actually pull off. The only problem is that I might be limited to just doing it with level geometry. Whereas in COD Radiant, you could do it with everything. You can, maybe it's not a good idea to allow like other objects and stuff like that. So what do you guys think? Hierarchical instancing? Should I be getting that shit in here? Now, hierarchical instancing also needs to include a way to marquee select a bunch of objects so that you can make a new instance. That's actually kind of crazy. Okay, so basically what you would do is you would place an object that is like a cube essentially. You assign its scale so that you know how big the cube actually is. Then it grabs all the objects inside of that cube, and then saves them to a little map file. And then you can delete all those objects, and then just grab that little, and then just place the actual instance object, and then it'll actually just sort of set that up. Now, this actually might even be better. Well, it's probably roughly about the same for I would say it's probably roughly same for replication and stuff like that, but it may actually be even more efficient way to save because it's not all like separate objects now. It's just like separate components that are all on sort of like stored in a local space. Then you can actually go back into the level editor, right? And then you can grab that instance, which I'm probably going to have like a prefabs folder or something like that, where you can grab prefabs. Shit, I'm probably going to have like different categories of objects that you can place in this thing, and then you will actually be able to work with just open that up like it's its own level, and sitting at the zero space, and then you can build that, and then other people can work. I can hand out an instance to somebody else, and that person can work on that completely on their own, or with two or three of their friends on an instance, and then we can bring it back into the current level right now, and then just all I need to do is just copy the file over the old file, and then boom, we got a whole new fucking section of the level that was worked on separately with a different group of people who worked on that over there. Like the fact that it's multiplayer though does actually, I mean, you can. The advantage of having hierarchical instancing is that you can have a potentially infinite number of people working on a map at the exact same time, whereas with multiplayer you're kind of limited to maybe having like 16 people. That's a little bit crazy anyway, but yeah, like, and then you also can reduce the amount of repeated work because now you're working with you're working with hierarchy. You're working with instances instead of just larger objects. So yeah, like that's crazy that it's even something that I can consider. But I actually know how to do it. I know how to do it now, so I'm gonna fucking do it. Probably, most likely. With that said, you already saw me playing the map through a little bit. There's definitely other issues that needs to be done. Like I need to get some textures and I need to get other stuff, but you know, again, this is just the start. This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. So, with that said, I'm going to be live streaming tonight, doing another dev live stream. Maybe have some people jump in if they want to help out with the level design. I already have ideas on what I'm going to be doing for the next area over here. I kind of have like, yeah, like this area, this whole section, and everything like that. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end this video. Hope you enjoyed. Definitely stay tuned for more if you like this kind of stuff. And, man, if I get fucking hierarchical instancing in this shit. Alright, anyway.